Yeah, I mean, when one looks at those kind of buildings now, one is not just looking at what they were when they were first built, you're looking at what they were after all that history has happened. But I think, okay, I'm thinking of, for example, of the building Rem Koolhaas built for Rothschild in the City of London recently, Rothschild Bank. It very clearly serves the purposes of Rothschild Bank. He did sort of squeeze some elements out of it that have a more public dimension, which is partly because it is in the City of London, or in London, where there are also political authorities. So it's not pure finance. There are still sort of planning bodies and things like that who, at least in theory, have a duty to a wider public. You know, also, I'm personally not a communist, so, you know, I think you do need banks, and there always will be banks. But it's a question of how much power they have. So it's not, you know, working for a bank is not in itself evil. But I think what gets very difficult, I think if you're in a situation like Dubai, where it's almost pure financial speculation, where there's no kind of civic counterbalance, where speculation is all there is, it's pretty difficult as an architect to do anything else than exactly what the money tells you to do. Does that make sense?
Do you think a case could be made for accusing Bobari of having colluded in supporting the capitalist regime by giving a palliative, ultimately? Which is financed by Chateaubriand and by all these donators, so it looks like they're giving largesse to the people.
Yeah, or Cesc Pompeo, which is kind of her other big work, which is a kind of social cultural centre in a relatively deprived part of Sao Paulo, is for an organisation that is funded by business, which gives things like sports facilities and art galleries and dentist clinics to poor people. Yes, but it's not in the power of an architect to completely change the whole of society. So it is a negotiation. It is Lina Bobari or Piano and Rogers dealing with Georges Pompidou. It's the same situation, that the money, the power comes from where it comes from. You can either say, I'm not touching your filthy money, in which case you don't build anything or very small things. Or you say, okay, I'll take your money and I'm going to try and turn it, and I'm going to try and do things with it which may not be entirely what you want. And
ultimately the client says it's a no.
Yeah.
The space seems to be between getting the client to finance the architecture and then turning it into architecture without losing your renommée. How do you say your renown?
Reputation.
Your
Reputation.
reputation. That means you have to build up your reputation, and you have to be subversive enough to do good architecture for the people. That's the space where the game is played, I suppose.
Yeah, and also...
And that's where you are the fake, actually.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Yeah, if you like. And also not be completely cynical about your client. I mean, if, Chateaubriand, he was, as I described him, but when he wanted to build this art gallery for the public, there's a huge amount of ego, self-glorification there. But I think you can credit him with also some sort of positive desire. There's something positive in that idea, as well as all that vanity and so on. And, you know, you can capture that and make something of it. But a really great thing about architecture and buildings is that it doesn't exactly reflect the wishes of anybody who made it. It's not, you know, something always gets changed in translation. And so, in fact, the park I showed you in Moscow, you know, now that it's sort of lost its original propaganda purpose, it's a rather strange park with quite intriguing, interesting-looking buildings that people can wander around at the weekends, and sort of odd little things happen there. So it's you don't go there and feel it's just a big lie, it's just a big power play by Stalin. It's become something else, and you know, that's a kind of fantastic thing about architecture.
If nobody tears it down before.
Yeah, that it changes.
That's our problem right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think the real problem now is that, as I say, you know, I'm not against banks. I'm not against finance. Absolutely, I think they perform a role. You know, the big global, huge problem that we all know about is they've become so powerful that the kind of counterbalancing forces are less and less there. So in terms of architecture, that means things like planning authorities. It means things like elected local governments are weaker and weaker and weaker. So whereas in the past, if you're designing a bank building, as an architect, you know, the bank might want you to do something, but then there'd also be the local government, the planning authority would say, well, no, you can't do it like this because that's wrong for the greater idea of the city. And that would give you leverage, that would give you room for maneuver as an architect. That side, the balance of power is shifting more and more in favour of money. And, well, as we know, in so many ways, that's the problem. But maybe it will change politically, who knows?